Greetings and welcome to this TrapcodeTAO session. Today we're gonna create a nice little Raspberry model using TrapcodeTAO. So let's get in After Effects and I'm gonna create a new composition, Raspberry 2, because I did another one before that. And I'm gonna make it 180 by 180, a square composition. So let's create a new solid, call it Tau, and let's apply Tau on there as we always do. So we don't want the path generator. We're gonna use a spotlight. So Control Shift Alt L, and let's create a spotlight. Let's call it Tau, and let's create a new solid. Let's copy the position, paste it here to get our light at the center, and then we can connect our light to our null. And let's create another one here. Let's connect this to that. So first thing first, let's start by dragging our light approximately 350 pixels to the left, and let's see how we're gonna do this. We're gonna move something from the bottom to the top, and as it do that, we're gonna spin around and unleash some circles geometry. So let's do that. So first, let's go in our paths from light options, and let's determine that we're gonna use 3 seconds, which is 90 frames. And let's start by moving our thing up and down. So let's say we're gonna move it 300 pixels. So let's add 300 pixels to that, or let's undo that, and let's subtract 300 pixels here, and let's make another keyframe here, and then let's add double that. So let's add 600 pixels. So now we have a nice straight line. And let's see, let's get in our rotation and make sure we have the right angle, or perhaps it's not necessary if we repeat spheres. So let's try to get in our segments and let's repeat our spheres here. Let's add a few amounts of sides, and I think we can already make it alright. So now size X is controlling Y. So if we want to fix that, I think we'd better rotate it 90 here. So that'll mean, yeah, I want to control the X with that. So let's make a new camera, 50mm, and alright, so we're okay. So this thing is going to go up like that, and as it does that, it's going to rotate. So not the position, but let's hit R and let's add a keyframe to the rotation. Let's do that, and let's get back on the first one, and let's spin this around. So maybe we can say like rotate 20 times, and that will be the amount of rows that we have in our soon to be Raspberry. So we can now increase the amount of segments in order to get more. And I think in the same way you can make some kind of a pineapple. So anyway, and now we want this thing to start small and to end small as well. We want to taper our Raspberry shape. So we know that our position keyframe on our light has been offset by 350 pixels to the left. So if we create a keyframe here and another one at the end, and let's get at the middle, so for frame 45, and let's create another one here. So right here we can now bring this closer to 0, and that will like make the bottom tip of our Raspberry. Let's make it minus 100 here. So minus 100, and on the top we're gonna need to do kind of the same. So but we won't see it live. So let's do that, and now it's kind of creating some kind of a diamond shape but Raspberry. So if we want to fix that, let's select all of those keyframes, and now I'm not gonna hit F9 because I've learned my lesson. I want to keep my recording active, so I'm gonna go right here, right click in keyframe assistant and easy ease, and let's refresh that. Control Alt / and that will make this, and we just need now to adjust our graph here so it doesn't do like that. So if we want, let's try to do that, and no, that's even more exaggerating it. So let's do that. Let's grab this one and let's do that. So let's look at it, and then we can grab the one from the middle and we can do that. And that's a little bit too much. So let's try to get something that kind of looks like a Raspberry as much as we can. This a little bit now. So that's kind of an okay shape. I mean, it could still be a little bit more adjusted, I think. Yeah, something like that. And now we need to remove some on the top. So if we want to do that, we can simply first we gotta make sure that the size from radius is checked here, and so we're going top to bottom. So right here we can tell our light we can shut off its radius. So let's create a keyframe here, page down to go to the next, and let's make this 0. So let's refresh, and that's eating up the top here of our Raspberry shape. So we can drag this further up to the left if we want this to happen before. So you decide approximately where you want it. I'll set it up right around here. So that's nice looking Raspberry. Let's stretch it out a little bit less. And let's see what else we can do to make it look like a Raspberry more. First we can color it, so let's go on our light options, and on the color let's make this kind of a raspberry color. So let's look at a Raspberry reference image, and let's grab this, and let's get some of the colors that we have here. So let's go page down and let's grab another one. Page down and let's grab another one. So let's say we use these 3. Let's repeat them by alt clicking on the stopwatch here, and property loop out type cycle. So that will kind of repeat our pattern here, and maybe we can make it a little bit more random, so we don't have them all the same color exactly. And then what we can also do is stretch it up on the X. I mean, let's see this thing, let's set it back to 0, and let's so yeah, we want to get our shapes a little bit more oblong, a little bit more oval vertically, and we can also add some randomness in there, so not too much, but just a little bit randomness on the X and Y and Z position, and also on the scale. We can add some, just to add a little bit more variation here to get different scale here, and we can add more sides. Let's try to have rounder shapes here, and if we want to have them look a little bit more organic, we can add a little bit of fractal displacement there. So let's choose segment, and let's increase that. So let's add 20 at first, and that frequency is perhaps a little bit big now, so let's increase it drastically to see what we get, and that's too much frequency. So something in between we want, something like 360 maybe. Yeah, and now we can reduce that a little bit. So just a little amount, a little bit of distortion to these can make it sort that we have a little bit more variation, and it looks a little bit less computer generated. So now if we look at our reference image, now it's going to be hard for us to get this kind of subsurface scattering feel to it, but if we look close, we can see that this is kind of it has kind of a speckles on the texture. So let's try to recreate that. So let's create a new composition, and this one we can make it 500 by 500, and let's make it, let's call it text. So that's our new solid here. We can shut it off, hit Control Shift C, and then leave all attributes here. So we have this with this size here, not the whole thing. And if we get in here, we can add a fractal noise to that. And let's try to simulate not a fractal, but a fractal noise. And let's try to use this to simulate some speckle. So let's scale it down, and let's have less of the white, so just a little bit. So now we have some kind of speckles happening here, but still we don't want our thing to be black, we want it to be gray. So let's add some levels, or else our Raspberry will be a little bit too dark. So we can do that to get our base our base color from this texture to be as neutral as it can be, so close to the middle point. And then let's try that. So let's bring it's already there, so let's go in TAO, and in the textures let's apply that. So let's try to apply it onto the specular map to see what it does. And nope. Alright, so let's add it here. Now it's a little bit dark, but now we have our speckles. So that's pretty cool. And now perhaps we can, instead of brightening it, we can add some light to there. So let's add an ambient light at first. And let's make this one a little bit of a blue shade. So now we lose all of our specular points. Let's add a point light, and let's call this TAO Lumi. So now we have a light, and let's make this a little bit of a warm color. And let's make our first light a overhead top light. So let's bring this upwards. And let's pull it back. Something like that. And now we have only the glow generated by our TAO Lumi lights. Our material is not actually getting affected by it. So if we want our TAO Lumi lights to have some glowing on our object, and if we want to have it brighten the texture as well, we have to get in here and we have to activate it. So now we have both, and it's not really a good example now because I don't have one at the front pointing at it. So let me just create another. Let me cancel that and let me duplicate this one. So now we're getting a specular out of it. So we can try to bring it somewhere else to get some general light direction. So if we bring this towards us, it will get more light around from the front. But let's put it a little bit on the side so we have some shadow here. And the first one, let's now readjust that. Let's bring it to 0. No, that's the second one. Let's bring this first one to 0. Okay, so right now it's at the center. Let's bring it a little bit towards us. And let's also hit twice on A, and these lights we can actually mess around with the radius with them. So that's another thing. And now depending on exactly the result you're looking for, I'm trying to get a little bit of some sort of back rim lighting here. But you take the time to mess around with that. So let's make a third one. Perhaps bring it right there to create a hot spot, a bright spot here, right there, and bring it a little bit towards us. So let's not mess around with that more. And maybe this one, this third one, we can color it to have a little bit of light projected in here. And what else we can do? Now we're not gonna make those hairy things. I sincerely doesn't think it looked that appetizing. I mean, when I get strawberries, it usually doesn't have that much of that. So of course it's kind of hard to make it look kind of organic, but let's see. They have a lot of specular. So we can play around with these settings here to try to make it a little bit more like you would want, and perhaps also we can So yeah, if we want even more randomness in their position, we can add a wiggle here. Let's do that. Wiggle on our light position. So let's have it move 11 times per second on a range of 15 pixels. And let's see what we get out of that. So that makes it even a little bit more random. So let's try it more. So that's another way to keep that, to add some randomness to it. So you can have a bunch of those strawberries and have different variations of them pretty easy. So one last thing that we can do, perhaps add a little bit of reflection to that. So let's get in our, oh yeah, let's add a little bit of fog here, and let's see, it's probably not as far as 300, so we can already put that at 3000, and let's see, 600. So can also so depending on the type of result that you want, you can always try to use density here, which is going to allow you to get more different result. I think it might be the way to do it, but then we need to darken everything down. So can we, perhaps we can put some, yeah, oh yeah. So that if you mess around a little bit more with this, I think you can get the right feel. So it's not about making it realistically looking, it's more about having the possibility to make this kind of a nice Raspberry model, but you try several ways to add some color to that. So that's all I have to show you for today. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.